Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Challenge with John Chapman podcast. I am John Chapman. I am the voice of one. We're crying in the wilderness, and we're definitely going to be shouting out in the wilderness today a little bit with a rather interesting topic that I think needs to be brought to mind. Sometimes it's political. Sometimes it's tax benefit a problem. Sometimes it's not bringing enough jobs into a particular community. And other times it is. So we're going to be talking about data centers today. And guest with me today, my brother Glenn. Glenn, it's good to have you, bro.
It's great to be here.
Before we get any too much farther, just want to remind you two things. First of all, I'd like to welcome all the trollers. I'd like to start with that. 2 weeks ago, Glenn, we touched a button. Apparently we touched the gas. And I want to thank the trollers because it's not that when we were on radio, when my wife and I were on radio, we used to have radio trollers. And you got used to it. You got it figured out, right? But in this case, on the social media, they all show up and they're all talking their stuff. And it's weird to me because information is the attempt at trying to say things, to do something to an ill effect is almost humorous to me. Because all the statements had nothing to do with anything we were talking about. And it's the same statements over and over and over. Mm-hmm. But I want to thank them for listening anyway, because our other podcast, not only do we have the behind the scenes cameraman, Mr. Willman, so it's the three of us here today.
Okay.
Yes. But also our media outlet director. She said our algorithms went through the roof. So I want to welcome all the trollers
Absolutely.
To this podcast. And I appreciate your participation without knowledge, as it be. Even without knowledge, it's okay that you participate. We got no problem with that. So thank you. For sure. But for those of you who follow us and regularly, you can find us on Rumble and go ahead and like and share that. And you can share us with your friends every week. Every week now I'm getting indication. Every week we're having new people follow the podcast all the time. So I appreciate that. Just let people know. And we love talking about this stuff. Given the chance, we'd come and talk to your church, talk to your men's group. We chat about this. And you might be wondering even how in the world do some people think, well, you're doing a podcast and that's where that stuff gets talked about. But maybe an idea about having a roundtable discussion within your own congregation, your own church, your own men's group, whatever you got in ministry. And you go, well, how does that lay out? Oh, man, we would love to sit down with you and say, look, find a few people. And this is what you do. You grab a cup of coffee and talk with you about how to open up that discussion. Because when it's uncomfortable, it's only uncomfortable because you haven't done it. I'm promising you do it, and it opens up all kinds of doors within that conversation. So you can also find us on Facebook, and a big shout out to the ministry that sponsors this podcast and all of the ministries from it, whitedoveministries.net. You can go there and find out what we're doing. Find the church ministry, the men's ministry, the women's ministry, and yes, this podcast, because we're bringing religion and politics back to the dining room table. No, they have never been separate. No, they will never be separate. And even the good atheists of the world bring their religion to the dinner table. So that's just a fact. Glenn, data centers. Here we go. We've got several of these popping up in the state of Iowa. I think at least 3 have been built here.
Yeah.
And the course of this conversation, I think, is endless because in many ways it's talked about as being a business venture. But what is a data center? And what's it for? And is this a good thing? Here we are, giant buildings being built in cornfields here in Iowa.
No question about that. And it seems to be popping up in various places across the country. I know parts of Illinois where I came from, there data centers are being proposed in this area. There's some states that are either have or are proposing legislation to forbid a data center to be installed anywhere in their property. There's a lot of logistics here that I've not looked into in detail, but the data centers are very interesting because a lot of the people, just even secular people, look at this and go, okay, this isn't a good idea because, fill in the blank. They cost a lot of money. They use water to cool the system. They might broadcast frequencies that are not good for your health. All kinds of physiological and environmental type things pop up out of these data centers. But you don't hear some of the things that are, maybe more important about the data center, which is what is in them. Why are they there in the first place? And what should people really consider about these? And that's kind of the discussion I think we can have today a little bit to figure out some of these things. Because I know it's circulating. I've got friends, I know other people that have Bible study groups and other things that are talking about this very thing. So this is an easier discussion, right? To have with your friends at church, sit down at a table, respect each other's opinions, please bring information to the discussion.
Right.
Ad hominem troll attacks just don't do anything positive in any way, shape, or form, And so there's plenty out there, and oh, brother, we could scratch the surface today and go on for a half the day.
Right.
And there's so much information out there. It's not hidden. You just gotta have to go look for it.
Right. You brought that up about the troll attacks again there too, and you get in that conversation. I really think a troll attack is nothing more than emotional response.
Yeah.
And so a troll attack doesn't have to happen on social media. It happens in church congregations. I've seen it happen live in church congregations. I've seen it happen live in men's group discussions. I've seen it happen live in many ways. And it's really, I've seen it in family households where a child just starts having an emotional response and they start slurring all kinds of information that's untrue because they're angry. And that's really all the trolling is all these anger responses for the formation of trying to squelch or suppress any other kinds of conversation. And you only get around a table like that, and troll responses exist. So yes, please bring some information to the table. Or bare minimum, I've learned to do this. Look, this is what my thought is on this. I want to share about this, but I'm going to tell you, I have not done much research. I want to know more about it.
Right.
You can still engage in the conversation. Just be true to yourself.
Yep.
And then be true to the people you're talking to, both the information you do know for fact, and then admit the stuff you don't know, but you see flying around.
Well, one of the interesting things to interject here real quick before we go too much further is who's the troll? And we'll touch on this a little bit as well. It might be a person. It might not. It might not.
It might not.
And so we're affected emotionally on a Facebook page or another page or TikTok or whatever,
Right.
perhaps by somebody that doesn't even exist. It's an AI version of a person giving you a conversation, trying to sway you one way or the other. And there's been some research done on that, particularly on like Amazon and things where you like a certain product, or on Facebook where you like a certain person.
Right.
Well, how do you know all those are real people? They don't have to be, and AI can create any of that. So it's kind of to our detriment to get all offended and wrapped around the axle when someone trolls us, possibly realize that they're actually trying to get that response from you.
Right.
And it's not even a person.
Right. That needs to be, there's such a powerful spiritual understanding, a biblical understanding that's going on here too. Because even within our own lives, very often, one of the reasons the scriptures, we will get to this data center, don't get me wrong, because I think this speaks to this notion, Glenn. God the Father is omnipresent. He's omniscient. He's everywhere, and he knows everything. He is the data center. And the devil wished to be greater than the data center, worshiped above the data center, and he got cast out as a result of that. And ever since then, it's been an emotional response for him to try to go against all that data. And I think it's important for us as believers too, because when the attacks come out that, and these trolls that were trolling us, they're attacking our character. I believe this was funny. They called us the devils. The devils are talking. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. That was it. That one phrase was just, the devils are talking. I'm like, devils are always talking, but you're going to have to be more specific, my friend. And the fact of the matter is that in society, when we're talking about politics, when we're talking about this information, that there's a strong difference. And we draw a line here, especially with this podcast, and we should as believers too, that we draw a line with going after somebody versus bringing truth to what is untrue. Because it's in our nature to, and even inadvertently, to start to have ill will directly at somebody. Mm-hmm. But there's something else behind that. Now, this isn't the devil made me do it talk, but there is such a thing as false, the untrue information that any of us can operate from, which is why God says, love one another, bear one another's burdens. Mm-hmm. And in the midst of those conversations, know that it's very possible that somebody else or yourself might inadvertently let some bad information in.
Oh, yeah.
And you just got to be merciful with one another and go, well, you know what? The enemy's real, but I'm not going to call you the person, that enemy, in a conversation. Right. And that's what the purpose of the conversation is. Right. And so I think that's important, in the midst of that too.
It's absolutely
let
critical
alone an AI.
Oh, exactly. Because right. I mean, and you can see why those face-to-face conversations are so important too, because you get on social media, you don't know who you're talking to. I know that sounds conspiratorial, but the technology is there.
Absolutely.
That you just don't know. Yeah, case in point, I was on a trip. I was in Phoenix. Our van guy wasn't there for the pickup, so I called him. Called the dispatcher. And a voice came on. What do you want? So I'm just looking for pickup. And then another voice came on, and it was completely real, including some of the slang and other things that a person might use.
Yes.
Talking one to another, but it was not a real person.
Oh my gosh.
It was not. And you can tell when you got towards the end of the conversation, there were certain things it was queued up to say, just by default, but that will be corrected soon and you'll not know.
Right.
Because I'm even talking like I know the guy. Then pretty soon I realize he's saying some things I'm not attributed to the conversation. I'm like, what in the world is going on here? So I looked it up, and sure enough, AI voice on the other side. And to their credit, I got the van. They showed up. We went to the hotel. All was well. Right. But the hair stands up on the back of your neck when you realize how hard it will be soon to know the difference between the two. And here we're in a culture that makes it primary to stay in your house, to not go talk to your neighbors, to not to talk to your associates. Don't talk to anybody that disagrees with you. Build your philosophy on what Facebook feeds you. And that's the whole culture right now. And you can see what kind of trouble that brings.
Yes. It's bringing tremendous culture, because people are now saying, did you hear? And we're talking about, you see, this is all over social media. And people say that phrase, this is all over social media. Well, the question is first of all, whatever it is, it's all over social media. Who's doing it? How is it coming about?
Exactly.
And why, and more importantly, why are you being influenced right now the way you are because of it? And to be accountable to a risen Savior and the Holy Spirit is to not be drawn in. It's we as Christians, we as believers should not be drawn in to that tactic. We should be the first ones to say, I'm going to look up the scripture here at some point, where Jesus tells the church that in the end times, do not be deceived. And he doesn't say in the end times, it's not going to be your fault, but people are going to deceive you. He says in the end times, do not be deceived. So he lays the onus on us to know what? Him, the truth. We have to be the ones to know that. So when he's saying do not be deceived, we live in a strong time right now where the importance of not being deceived by knowing the truth is very high. And what we're going to be talking about today, data centers and data information that's being stored there, is kind of the thing we're battling against because of its influence towards an entire society, even if it's to sell more basketballs. That's how it's getting done. Yeah. It's manipulating. It can be manipulating, and we must be the ones that are not manipulated by that information.
And that the important part of that statement is, I don't think that either one of us would go in front of a court of inquiry and say, okay, this is our plan to save the world. Right. We're going to tackle these data centers and we're going to make sure they don't show up here and all this kind of stuff. But this is like we've talked about before here. It's you know what kind of situation the world is when you see these things up. I'm not making light of this at all, but if you were to go, some faraway land and see where, there's razor wire and fences and barracks inside this compound, what would you think?
Yeah.
Well, so that doesn't look good. I mean, what's going on in there? Well, they're about to imprison people that they don't like, political, whatever else it is. And so that's what we're looking at with these data centers as well, because think it's good or bad or want to believe it or not, that's the information in there will become that prison that they can manipulate and make happen.
Right. And I think that's a direction we've seen China go. As far as that goes, we're talking about social credits. When I typed in data center here, a definition from the Oxford, I'm going to dictionaries, online Oxford dictionaries, gives a definition for data center on the broad scope of things. It is a large group of networked computer servers typically used by organizations for the remote storage, processing, or distribution of large amounts of data. So that's what it is.
So indeed it is.
That's what a data center is.
Yes.
So this raises some questions.
Yes, it does. So why would you need something like that? Well, the country will tell you, the tech guys will tell you, just listen to any TED talk if you can tolerate those for more than an hour. They will tell you, hey, this is for the good of mankind. I mean, this type of technology, the Internet of Things, a brain-computer interface. I mean, all these various things. Think of the positive aspects of it, and I don't deny that. And most people don't. They look at it, oh, yeah, that's really cool, but right, hit the brakes. But what could it be used for?
Right.
And what's human history, and what does the Bible say about humanity?
Right.
The hearts are evil all the time. I mean, we have this tendency to drift towards power and injustice and all these other things. And this is a tool that could be used terribly to that. I mean, the reason that these data centers use so much water to cool, any processor has to be cooled. You got what's in your tower computer, and the fan blows on it because it's working. It's processing, doing things in and out.
Yeah.
That's what these data centers do too. And so you can access any one of them from any one place. The idea would be eventually with AI technology, it's using even much more resources to do this, that it can be used quickly and efficiently to put somebody in a bad position.
Yeah.
To compile information and build their profile instantly. We don't like this guy because of his political views, because these two guys were on the podcast, talking about, church and state and the Constitution, and that's not accepted anymore. So it will be used dramatically for conformity, far more than we see now.
Governance. Conformity is a type of governing.
Absolutely.
Forced governing or manipulated governing. And people might say, but think of the good that it can be used for. It made me think of the, what were the Tom Cruise movies? He's the Secret Service guy.
Mission Impossible. That's it, man.
That's it. Mission Impossible. Well, those series brought famous the idea of somebody else walking into a room with a different mask on, but they looked exactly like them, exactly like them. And so now AI productions will produce a human, and everybody's just like, oh my gosh, did you see what so-and-so said? And there's still things that are that can be seen and heard and looked for that reveal that they are in fact not. So there's lots of commercials now coming through any Facebook feed that's not a person. Mm-hmm. It looks really like a person, and it really isn't a person. And the same could be true of any politician. The same could be true of a preacher. The same could be true of anybody. It can try to mimic that. And what is a little alarming to me is the quantity of churchgoers who are the first. Like I get approached a little too often about this stuff, in my opinion. It's just like, oh my gosh, you hear what so-and-so said? And I pull it up and I look at it, and it's an AI cartoon. And I know this because, if you've been involved in production at all, you understand things about the way the mouth moves, the words come out, and all these kinds of things, how voices speak and what space is in between the words. And I go, how is it somebody's believing this is what this is? Which raises another question. What kind of society would we be in which would easily believe and look at what it takes to come up with this kind of data to convince us that that is true when it's not? I mean, you go online somewhere, you're signing up to do something that says, check this box to show you're not a bot. And then it takes you through a series of questions and boxes and pictures, and you have to say, which ones have a picture of a bus in it. Yep. So you had to physically go through that. You're being checked out to see if you're really human.
Yep.
But what power do we have to check them out to see that they are? I don't believe that exists at the moment.
Elon Musk talked about this at some length with the ethical problem of AI. And I don't think he specifically said, how do we check it out to see? But he realizes, and maybe he doesn't care, but he did make the statement. So I'm not going to put words in his mouth at all.
Sure.
But certainly ethics will be a problem because of that. So you're the guy that's selling the product, right? Oh, I'm going to make a movie. Well, maybe not as many people show up if they know it's all AI characters. So why tell them?
Oh, right.
So now the ethics is, okay, Should you tell them? Should you not tell them? Will the Actors Guild get upset if they're just doing movies without them anymore? I mean, so this thing can go down a lot of different roads. And
Sure.
and if you believe in God, you have to understand that some fantastic things are slated to happen in the last days. Things that will blow the minds of the people on earth. So much so that even the elect could be deceived.
Right. Right.
So what would that look like? Well, I got people in some of the circles that I hang with that just tell me, hey, they saw this thing on, YouTube about this, and this, and it must be true.
Right.
And that's nothing compared to the technology that this stuff will bring in the future.
Yes.
Right. Let's say that I can use a brain computer interface mechanism, which is being tested right now. You can look that up anywhere on the line. It'll show you. Elon Musk has a company that's working with that called Neuralink. You can look that up.
Oh, yeah.
A brain computer interface chip that you can actually just think and you get online and you can do. Right. So if I got a robot sitting over there and I've got one of these chips in my brain, I can just say, I want that robot to do this, and it does. Now, if you're in an auditorium and you're looking at that, what would you say? Oh my gosh, this guy's a god.
Oh my gosh.
How does he do that? I mean, how did this possibly happen? And so that's a lame example of stuff that could be done quite easily and quickly in time.
And what many movies involving, which I know are not true, alien beings, but many movies involving, I enjoy a good sci-fi. Like, I'll entertain the idea that they're there just for the plot line.
Absolutely.
I'm all about that. I'm Raiders of the Lost Ark, all the way from the Ark of the Covenant, all the way to the freaky guys that came down to the Aztecs. So anyway, I just like the actors. That's all. I like a good story.
I can relate.
And what's interesting to me is all these higher beings that are always talked about, the aliens. Never do they, from the Will Smith.
Men in Black.
No, Men in Black. But I was thinking the Independence Day.
Oh yeah,
that's another alien invasion, right?
Yep.
You got that alien invasion.
Very popular.
Yeah, you've got the Indiana Jones alien invasion in the second to last movie they did. What thing was interestingly the same about them, and this is all that humans can come up with, is these aliens have evolved to such an incredible state of intellect, they don't talk. They just think it. And then it happens.
Yep.
And the idea of putting a neurochip in somebody and they can think, getting something to occur.
Right.
I think this is worth pointing out. The first 5 chapters, first 3 for sure, chapters of the book of Genesis, there's a reason that in the Word of God, when God is creating, this phrase comes up. And then God said. And then God said. And then God said. Not then God thought it in his mind, and we had to figure that out. That began already. The thinking happened already. But this is why speech or the words are so important. That's why Jesus is the living word. That's why he's the only one. He's the only way back to God. He's the only way to God to breach that. And you were talking about that, Glenn, that even the elect will be deceived. Matthew 24:24. We're not even in Revelation. For false Christ, this puts a whole new picture on this. For false Christs and false prophets will arise. And very often we think of people. We think of people who are saying, hey, and there's some nut jobs out there going, I'm Jesus, I'm Jesus.
Yes.
And usually they've injected something in their blood too, or snorted something. And they're saying that, but then false prophets. And right now that's a hot topic. Right now you get on the internet and everybody's pointing their finger at the last preacher, prophet, prophetess, and everybody's going false, 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 false. And I say we got to be a little bit careful there, because the idea of a false prophet is simply somebody who's not speaking the words of God, a human who is not speaking the words of God. But now, with this generation of information, all that information could be directed from any one of these mega data centers, be it one of the 3 or 4 from Iowa, interlinked with somebody else in Texas and somebody else in outer space and somebody over in China. And what they do is they put together a prophecy. And they put this together based on what? Scriptures. Well, if they based it on the scriptures, it's got to be true prophecy. Stop. It has to be God speaking.
Right.
And this is a replacement of that. So when Matthew 24:24 says this, for false Christs and false prophets will remain, who would have guessed we'd think that is going to be pumped into AI and social media?
Oh, absolutely.
Will arise. will arise and will provide great signs and wonders so as to mislead, if possible, even the elect.
Isn't that interesting with technology now? You would have read that prophecy 20 years ago and go, oh, that's weird. But now you're like, holy smokes.
I know it.
Right?
Yes.
It's like Frodo Baggins' glowing saber when the orcs are close by. It's like, what's going on here? And again, this isn't to be, okay, creepy or, okay, yeah, we're just conspiratorial here. It's a very big reality that, of course, that group will never attest to. AI will never come out and say, Elon Musk will never come out and say, okay, we've crossed a line here. This is too much. We need to tag these everything with reality. This is AI. That's not. Yeah, this said that. This guy didn't. That's just not going to happen. So it is prudent to have that discussion at the dinner table with your family,
yes,
with your men's group, with your church board, with everybody. So listen, this is a reality. This is a possible reality. So what are we doing to guard our minds and our hearts to stay away from this kind of thing? And it's not you just absolutely forbid it, but it's like, don't let it influence your life and drive your worldview.
Yes.
Because that's when the deception will definitely come in.
There's only one way to not let anything influence you, though, is you have to have what's correct on your side. Jordan Peterson said this on an interview, a short reel I caught last week. Might have been even earlier this week. Jordan Peterson states that if somebody with ill intent has found a way to use, abuse, or hurt you, and you remain in that situation, it is to your own fault. It is up to you to be the one who finds out and knows what is true for yourself, so that you are responsible to do what is right and true for yourself. And he calls it a wickedness of one's own self to not pick up that mantle, to not pick that up for yourself and say, I need to know. And I think that's some of what we're kind of talking about here.
We see, because you've interviewed some, political figures here on the podcast.
Yes.
There is a lot of pushback when you ask questions that perhaps don't want to be answered. I'm not even saying with the crowd that you've interviewed, but in politics in general, if you strike a nerve.
We had a couple that didn't want to answer. Right? I love them dearly, but I'm telling you what, they did not want to answer.
And they are from all walks of life. All right. There's no party picking right now. We're not picking anybody's party, but there are questions they don't want to answer or would rather just go around and get to the next question as soon as possible. And there's reasons for that. Right? Because if the population knew or got some answers to that question, things would be completely different. And this is where AI can really pick that up in a negative way.
Yeah.
And promote commercials and other types of activities that are kind of true, but not entirely.
Right.
And that not entirely part will be the deception part, where people think that something's going on or going to happen, and it just does not. And they are caught by surprise, and they've given up all this freedom to get what they thought they were going to get that was legit, and that doesn't happen. And so this is just absolutely critical. If you don't have a relationship with God in some way where you get down on your knees in the morning to say, all right, God, I have no clue.
Right.
This is me. I have no clue. All right. When I go to bed tonight, I probably still won't have a clue either. So I need you to clarify some things for me. And interestingly, when you do that, he always has you look in the mirror and say, this is what I want you to do. I want you to do this thing, and whatever that is, you're, like Jordan Peterson said, you're obligated now. You got to pick that mantle up and do that thing for you so that the right thing gets done. You just don't conform with the crowd. Like they want you to in the worst possible. Oh, you're Republican. You need to conform to this worldview. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. There's a lot of that worldview I don't agree with. And I strongly disagree with some of it.
Yes.
So why are you trying to get me to conform? That's when you're beginning to see the trouble.
Yep. And the things that you do plant on and stand on, you need to be able to be truthful with anybody and take the consequence of whatever that is too.
Absolutely.
I've had so many people accuse me, oh, John, it's just obvious. It's like the trollers. They're like, you're MAGA, you're MAGA, you're MAGA, you're MAGA. And obviously they don't listen to the show.
Obviously.
Right. Because we beat the heck out of MAGA.
Absolutely.
Left and right. We beat the heck out of the Republican Party. We've done our best.
We want answers.
We want the truth. We want answers. We're not claiming that everything we will say, we have all of the truth.
Right.
Because we would never want to be, folks, your AI.
No.
But we, as a people, have become dependent upon everybody else's information. And there's something lacking within the church community to start to need to have these conversations, because the further Christianity gets away from the word and the larger it grows based on the influence of social media. I mean, people are now identifying things as, oh, that's Christian, that's Christian, that's Christian, that's Christian. And the Bible would contradict it. And I would have to say easily.
Yeah.
Not the tough stuff that's hard to find in there. I'm talking about the easy stuff. Yeah. It would contradict her easily, but we have a whole Christian society. It's just like, oh my gosh, that's so Christian. I'm just like, man, that's so unbiblical. That's so not.
And you so haven't read it at all.
I know. It's my favorite statement when I'm talking with people and they go, oh, well, scripture says this. And I go, oh, you're a student of the word of God.
And your reference is?
Yep. And the shock on their face when they go, well, student, well, this is what it says. No, so you're a reader of and 100% of the time, anytime I've challenged somebody in a conversation where they're quoting the scriptures like that, deep down, I'm hoping that they are. And there's been two, and far liberal. I was engaged in a conversation with a couple out west, just west of Des Moines, on social media on an argument that had ensued on somebody else's Facebook page. And you know what was interesting about them is they were totally on the side of the person, but they had come up with an article and I agreed to read it. And as a result of that, we came to some understanding in the middle ground.
Yeah.
And they showed nothing but respect. I showed nothing but respect.
So it's possible.
But the person whose Facebook page that it came up on didn't want anything now to do with either one of us because they were the one in the emotional state. So I thought that was actually fantastic. I mean, I'd take that all day long. I would take that all day long.
Yes.
That kind of conversation.
Absolutely.
So what's with the data and this information, the deception of the elect, the things that can happen in the midst of this? What are we looking at? What aren't we paying attention to, in your opinion, whether it's this state or another? And I find it interesting. You said in Illinois, they're saying we don't want it here.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And some of the states up in the northern side of the state.
So in communist Illinois, they're trying to stop it. But in Iowa, go ahead, but I'm going to find out. I asked how many there were. I think there's 3. Mr. Willman, if you know different, let me know. That's all I found.
I know the United States has the largest number of data centers in the world. I don't know if that matters one way or the other, but we've got a lot of them here in this country. Statistically,
okay.
Statistically, we have more than anyone else. I don't know if that matters because you can get to any of them from anywhere, is my understanding. And with a couple new developments popping up, I don't know if you can hardly get past a billboard that has, all the satellite connectivity now that you can get through Elon Musk's system, Starlink. So that's cool, right? Because now you can get Wi-Fi at the North Pole or somewhere close to it if you need it. That would be handy if I was ever at the North Pole. Literally, we'll have some type of satellite Wi-Fi coverage for the vast majority of the surface of the Earth. And now we've got ways to process that information, these mega data centers all over the country, all over the world. We have ways to track people all over the country, all over the world. Some of this new technology is called, again, if you can stand a TED Talk for a minute, is called, I just dumped the name. It is the Internet of Things, or capital IoT, which sounds like a stupid, worthless phrase, but the Internet of Things is the coming world that will have internet connectivity on everything. So this microphone could be part of the Internet of Things, or the IoT. Well, what does that mean? It records my voice and knows who I am, knows when I'm recording, knows where I'm recording. It's got a lat long in there, what altitude I'm recording, what the weather is outside when I'm recording, what I'm saying. AI can process that and put that into a political file and say, well, this is that type of person. We'll put him in that file. We'll put John in that file too, because his Shure microphone on his side of the table is also the Internet of Things. So it's not just your phone anymore. It's your car, your microphone. The food in your refrigerator can have the certain type of chip in it, so they know what you're eating, how many times the refrigerator door opens and closes, how do you set your temperature in your house. These things are already happening in real time.
So that's going to stop obesity.
Oh, I know, right? Oh my gosh. I'm still getting my beef jerky, bro. I don't care who's watching. Still getting it. And so, people don't realize, why should they? Because certainly the tech world is not going to step out and say, hey, look what these things will do. A garage door, it opens and closes. Well, guess what? It's tied in your Wi-Fi, so somebody else knows. That's stored in a data center. I listened to a TED talk where the guy was English in London, and he's got a teapot for 2 p.m. tea, and it's connected to the internet. So
No.
yeah, so he can turn it on and get that tea going on his stove, because man, what a pain it would be to actually stand up and just walk over there. So literally everything at some point has the potential, and I'm not saying this happened now, but it's definitely heading down that road to be Internet of Things, where everything is tied to everything else. So things are tied to each other: cameras, microphones, motorcycles, helmets, food, concerts, stuff that can watch where your eyes are moving to see what you're looking at, can track your face. And all this stuff is very real, and it's happening right now. And so people would say, well, that's cool, because look at, I know in my garage, if I forgot to close my garage door, and I agree. That's a great idea. Or I can tell my sump pump isn't working. My sump pump has a port. I can put a USB thing in it. It's Bluetooth. It tells me the dumb thing's running or not.
Oh my goodness.
That's awesome. I love that. But I'm not going to do it because I don't want the whole world to know when my dumb sump pump's running, right? So at what point does that pendulum swing across and say, well, you have to, because everything you buy has the capability of Internet of Things. And eventually governments that are surveillance type, conformity type governments, and ours is certainly that, are heading that way.
They are.
Will say everything you buy, everything you do has to tie into the Internet of Things.
See, that is the foundation the foundation for a world order is humanity being God. It sounds to me like the map to get that done.
Totally.
Is the connectivity. And it's on every advertisement. Judy and I have been watching FIFA. It's on every advertisement that's going on there. How can we get together? We're all one. And, or the worst commercials I've ever seen in my life, he gets us. Anyway, I'm throwing that in there. Yep. Mm-hmm. I'll do that all day long. I hope those people repent. I hope the people that make those.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
I hope the He Gates Us crowd repents and meets Jesus. That's one of the saddest things I've ever seen. That's one of the most highest levels of deceptions I've seen ever. To not exalt Jesus himself and to make him like us when he became like anyway. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Willman, for interrupting my rant. Thank you. He just sent this to me here.
Mr. Willman is salvation.
Yeah, he is.
He just is.
Mercy. I need you at my house from time to time, Mr. Willman, to keep me from getting in trouble. So he has sent me the Iowa Data Center search called Data Center Map.
Okay.
Listing how many data centers we do have in the state of Iowa. Now, this is all types. I found out quite a few names. I think there's large corporations that also have their own types of data centers, right? But currently in the state of Iowa, there are 111 data centers from, it says, 13 markets or types of business in Iowa. Mm-hmm. And then you can go find them on this map. So 111 of them. Thank you, Mr. Willman. Appreciate that. And the ones that people are aware of, but there's a couple that people don't. And I find this interesting. So this is the top ones that come up here. I'm going to read these out here real quick. People know this stuff. Altoona, the Altoona Data Center, Facebook Data Center, State Data Center. Those are the top three. Mm-hmm. That one makes my hair cringe. State Data Center. Meta. This is in Iowa. Mm-hmm. Pfizer, Slayton Solutions, Biospace, It's Incorporated, Nevada Computer Center, and Midwest Project Partners. Those are the top of the list. Microsoft, Meredith Corp, and Data Solutions. CyberRight, and FastGrade. Those are the top of the 111 that are known. 111 in this state. But those are the big ones. State Data Center. Mm-hmm. China. Anyway, here it is.
And so, we look at them, okay, an ecological problem, environmental problem, we don't want them next to us. Agreed. Agreed. Don't disagree at all.
Right.
And if you've got a group of folks in a local community, you're able to petition and have that stopped or slowed down, I agree. So they will put that somewhere else and you'll still have the same problem.
Yes.
They are storing your data without your permission for whatever they please to have. So it's just a symptom of something else. So it's one of these things where when you split the hairs, you go, well, yeah, I don't want that in my back. And we got one back Northwest Norwalk. Thing's enormous.
Yeah.
I've got family that does contract work out there for these guys. Right. It's enormous. It's creepy, man. It's like a Johnny Depp sci-fi movie out there. And that's just the beginning, because they'll put them where they need to put them. They'll do what they need to do. Nobody's permission. They'll get this done. And as AI gets more and more prominent, these data centers are more and more of a requirement.
Yeah.
And so people are spending billions of dollars, maybe from even a single corporation, to get data centers set up for AI in and out data. And so the whole thing, so how that ties into us here, talking about things around the dinner table, politics and religion, it's what does religion say about the last days? What does God say? God of the Bible. What does the book of Revelation say about the last days? And that's where, when we get up in the morning, we see one of these monster data centers sitting there. I don't freak out. It's like, oh my gosh, I hope I don't get sick.
Right.
It's just like, it's a symptom of a bigger problem, which means, Lord, what do you want me to do?
Right. So
it's not a fear. We're not promoting fear. And again, I support anybody that said we don't want the data center there. I'd sign that petition.
Right.
So we're not disassociating ourselves from any normal discourse of action as an American citizen. But what that's showing me is, okay, something is coming. Things are accelerating quickly. It might not be a bad idea to ask Jesus some questions if you don't know him.
Yes.
Hey, man, there's something in my soul that's bothering me. Lord, what is it? And maybe tell your coworker about it. I mean, we've had this discussion before here. So this is that conversation where you'll see all the stuff come up on news, like Musk saying, we need to check the ethics behind this. No, they're not going to do it. Okay. So you can take everything these guys say and go, I don't think so. So what are we getting to here?
And the thing about the ethics check is that, and this is the part that I think we can't be deceived in either, is that it always sounds great when somebody says, hey, we need to make an ethics check.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
When the inventor of AI said this needs to stop, he didn't say there needs to be a check. He said the plug needs to be pulled.
Yep.
And who's going to do that? Well, nobody. Because the desire of man to have power is so great. And the love of money, not money, the love of money is the root, the Bible says, of all sorts or all kinds of evil. You put power and the money together like that. And people are trying to do good with both. And they're trying to say, well, we need to look into the ethics of this. And many Christians will go, oh my gosh, look at Elon, man. He's what God needs, because he thinks we should look into the ethics. No, that's the problem. We've already looked into the ethics. Mm-hmm. Anything that mankind comes up with that tries to promote any kind of health and well-being for humanity continues to kill us. Mm-hmm. So until we figure that out, until we figure out that God alone is the one that holds all that, that's why he's referred to as the Father. He is the source of all. And the more people, the more Christians, the people who are atheists, I'd rather talk to them, because they don't have a mindset
I agree.
Of what the character of God is. They're almost easier to talk to in many ways. They don't understand that they're the one being God. That's where their faith is.
Yeah.
But I'd rather talk to them, because now we have many Christians that are just like, they're getting caught up in the war of good and evil instead of in the truth. Because Jesus didn't get caught up in a war of good and evil.
No.
Otherwise, he would have stopped himself from going to the cross if that was the point. So it would have been considered evil what they were doing to him, indeed, because he was doing it for us. It was for us, and we missed that. We missed that a lot, and that's a bad thing. The truth, we have to, this discussion, and it's terrible, because you say, we can sit here and go, we're not conspiring.
No.
But the definition of data center itself doesn't even answer. It doesn't answer any of the questions we should be asking about it. Here's one of the examples. So Zach Lane, who is now, I guess, the Republican, won that. He's going to be running against Rob Sand. I saw a short clip of him. He was being interviewed about data centers. And he says, yeah, well, the thing about, I'm not a real big fan of data centers. And right now, people are loving him because he's not a big fan of farms putting weed and pesticides in their in the ground. He's got a big following with that. I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I'm on board. Okay, that's fine.
That makes sense.
It makes sense. And sometimes there's a problem with making sense, is that we're still not looking at the real problem. And Zach's interview, he was talking about the data centers, and he states, He says, I'm not a big fan of the data centers because we give tax breaks, millions and millions of dollars of tax breaks to these corporations to only hire 30 people at a data center. You see that giant building, and you go, oh, look at all the business in there.
Yeah.
And you have just a few humans walking around running that thing.
Yeah.
And so immediately we go, oh, yeah, look at the economics of this. Look at the job situation. Oh, look at this. Yeah, but do you know what's in that data? See, we're not asking the right questions. It's like the enemy's coming and putting his camp up, and he's just putting it right here. I don't know. It's to be stopped or not. I think I'm on the same link as you are. It's just like, no, the Bible says this is going to be happening.
Mm-hmm.
The question is are you doing, believer, what you ought to be doing today?
Mm-hmm.
This should be pointing us a direction pretty strongly as a church, maybe even back to the original call command of Jesus before he left. I think so much of this stuff just should be pushing us back to go ye into all the world and preach the gospel, go ye into all the world and make disciples of all nations. It should get us on that track. But I'm not sure if it is. Have you seen other tracks? People jump on other tracks and go down other rabbit holes. It keeps us away from what we really need to be paying attention to.
Yeah. A lot of distractions in these last days.
There are.
A lot of distractions.
There are.
I remember when we did a show here a little while ago, either before Trump was elected or shortly thereafter, that one of the couple of things that we had used as a gauge for how things might be going in the future was what would the national debt look like? What would the quote budget look like? And what would the surveillance world look like?
Right.
Because those are two biggies, huge ones, as far as how the world will end up showing up. And neither one of those has slowed down in a bad direction.
No. Surveillance is only on the increase.
Totally.
And it has become more offensive to me, the notion of surveillance, than it ever has in my life. And being over in Scotland 2 years ago to see the level of surveillance that goes on in the automotive world, and it bums me out. I mean, the argument's going to be, right now, Iowa has their cameras out, and different districts will vote to have these companies come in. And what breaks my heart, I've seen one of these up close now. I've seen up close what a ticket looks like. I've seen up close what this is and what it states and everything. And most people, it galls me to hear this is for the protection of traffic. This is for the protection of traffic. And I got to see some time ago one of these actual tickets. And the thing of it is you're paying, that ticket is inciting the vehicle, not the driver. It's inciting the vehicle, not the driver. So money's being paid on a non-law enforcement. The only thing they're doing is saying the vehicle's going faster than the speed limit. Well, who did it? We don't know. It's just the vehicle. And what's all the information they got all of that? Well, it gets back to whoever owns the vehicle.
Whatever's in the data center. And but all in the name of, and this is going to increase, this could say, if I hear the word save lives again. Oh, geez. Especially from the people saying it.
Especially from the people say it. And I heard it today, just on a news feed, that the CDC was recommending that some people, that's all I had to hear to go, don't do it, man. They're trying to kill you. I mean, serious. And they say, well, how is it after 5 years, anybody can even state the CDC says?
I know. I don't get it.
And people can fall, and I'll bet you we'll get trolls on this one because we said that.
I'm glad they're listening.
I'm absolutely glad. Welcome. Keep those algorithms coming, boys or girls or AI.
They've got a cave troll.
It's true.
Good movie.
It is a great movie. And so this is a situation that we are in so deep. I don't think it's worth arguing with people. I think it's okay to give your information. See, I don't agree with it because I think it's oppressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what are they going to do with it? Well, bring us closer to the end of times.
Yeah.
I would start looking to the skies and saying, and pray what the Bible commands us to pray. Say, come, Lord. That's one of the prayers. Yeah. We're supposed to get up in the day and say, hey, Lord, come. Be it your time. Yeah. Come, Lord. That's one of the prayers we're supposed to pray. We're supposed to adopt a heart as Christians that none would perish. And in the meantime, we're arguing about we can argue about whether it's AI or not. We can argue about what it's doing, but it's doing it. The point here is we're saying is doing it. And these data centers are captivating all this. Glenn, this thought hit me earlier today when I was at work, because I'm a working man and I pay my bills. Somebody told us that we do this to make a ton of money.
Oh,
Mr. Willman and I laughed joyously together. We guffawed the rest of the afternoon. It was absolutely a lot of fun because we make so much money doing this. And because I'm a working man, but this thought hit me. There has to be a similarity between God and him having all the information and mankind trying to adopt all the information in data centers. But what's the difference with its use? That's a question I push. What's the difference? If God has all the information, but we're trying to have all the information, what are some similarities that mankind is trying to use the information for against what God would be using the information for?
Well, in the last days in particular, the information that God has is of all history, past and forward. So he's got data for what's going to happen tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day.
Right.
The data banks don't have that. They're just recording what's happening real time, today. I see that it's, if you watch enough podcasts or TED Talks, it's a toxic, intoxicating statement to talk about AI and data center for some of these guys, because they really feel like they are on the precipice of becoming superhuman, godlike in many ways. And they'll say as much.
Yeah.
They'll say as much.
Wow.
God doesn't give us that information so we can write books and sell them and talk about how cool we are. And, oh, look, we know God and you don't. He gives us information just to correct us, course correction every so often, saying, hey, that's not how it's going to play out. And you know how I know? Because I'm God. And I know it'll happen tomorrow and the next day and the next day until I come again.
Right.
So if you want to listen to me and just say, hey, let's rein things in a little bit and just go with the bumpers that God gives us in life. You don't need to know the whole picture.
Right.
Just follow those bumpers. What does he having you do? And things will play out perfectly. If you want to make your own God, you want to become God, you want to say AI is the real deal, you want to conform to the society, things will not work out perfectly. There's going to be a lot of people, in my estimation, that are going to be utterly surprised at what happens.
Yes.
Utterly surprised in a bad way.
Indeed.
Thinking that, well, I thought you said, but that should have been. Are you right? It wasn't me. It wasn't you.
Right.
No good people that try to get this implemented. This was what was going to happen because of the nature of mankind's heart.
Yes. And God's laid that out in his word perfectly. The nature of mankind's heart and what inherently it does at that point, and why God has to do what he does. And I saw it happen with, post-COVID, then the Trump administration lost an election cycle.
Yep.
And then when the Trump administration won an election cycle, at both at the beginning of those 4-year periods, I saw Christians begin to say some of the strangest things I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And the problem is hear me, church, when I say this, if you have to know, you shouldn't. If you want to know the truth, then you're going to have to look at yourself. There's not another way.
Agreed.
Derek Prince says this very well. He said, the problem, I can't do his accent. I'm going to practice that. He has got a great accent.
He does.
Derek Prince he did. And I'm listening to some old stuff of his. I'm enjoying just how straightforward he is, with the scriptures, just kind of mainline. Love it. And he said, the problem with reading the scriptures is inevitably, eventually, you will see yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so true. If you start digging in the scriptures, that ends up being quite true. And the problem with both of these election cycles for me is that people suddenly needed to be on a team. And the team they were on was the team that was in the know.
Mm-hmm.
It's the in the know team. I have the knowledge. I know what is actually going on. And it's taken many a Christian extra laps around the track.
That's no joke.
And it's taken, and that's been a huge mistake. Do you remember when Trump lost the election, that the real military was actually still in power?
Oh boy. There's all kinds of exciting things.
I don't know if you were aware of that, Glenn, but they were going to come back in May and take it all back. And then when that didn't happen, I would say to people, So that didn't happen. Oh, but that's because, and they'd come up with all the excuses of why that didn't happen. They said, but rest assured, August, it's going to happen in August, and the real generals are going to step in. It's going to be a takeover. And I made this statement because our Constitution in the United States, which is just as formidable a document, it's not the Word of God, but it's just as formidable. It's the strongest document the world has ever seen, as far as holding governance together. And I would tell people, so if that happens, Trump is actually underground and he's in a bomber, a bomb bunker, and the real generals with him are going to come and take over. And I said, how is it that you disagree with the Constitution so much? And it was just chirping. It was just crickets. I said, how is it that you disagree with that? Because that's considered a coup. Or, well, the other one was a coup. I said, look, if you don't know the Constitution, what you're advocating for is that document has failed. And that what is where we need to pick it up right now. And then the same thing happened. Trump gets reelected, and we were going to be debt-free in 6 months.
Oh, I remember.
Because there was prophecies and gold investors and all this stuff, and everything was going to be found. And oh my gosh, we have no idea. And the idea was even drawing people to say, we're just not in debt anymore. That's it. We're going to be free of this debt, and it's going to be released. And then, because we're on the team that knows, 39 trillion now. 39 trillion.
No end in sight.
No end in sight. And this is a sign. I am not against anybody who's gotten caught up with that kind of information, but I will say this: stop listening. I don't care how Christian somebody says they are. I don't care if you listen to a Christian station. I don't care if you listen to Christian music. I don't care. If you're opening up your Bible, ask the Lord to talk to you, because you will have to be convicted for what is true, because everything else pales by comparison. And it shows that we as a church, we as a body, we have stopped being willing to be discipled by the Word and the Holy Spirit who teaches the Word. Those two people do that. And we have decided social media will instruct. Social media will encourage. AI will encourage. I've even had people, how many people are the new AI face of themselves?
Oh, I know.
I'd like to look jacked too. I'd like to look handsome too, but God didn't make me that way. So I can't AI myself into popularity by doing that.
Not in reality.
And all that comes from all these big data centers. All that information's coming. And guess what? It's following, it's tracking, and it's knowing. And what's that going to use it for? Why is God omnipresent? Why is he all knowing? Why does he know all the sins that we've done? Why does he know all the sins we're going to do? Because he's the judge. So why do all these data centers want to keep track of who's being sinful? Because they want to be the ones to judge.
Oh boy.
In the end. I think that's one of the reasons.
They want conformity. And conformity is easy when there's only certain information given and other information retracted and certain privileges revoked, other privileges granted, as long as you conform. As long as you say the things you're supposed to, believe the things we want you to believe, buy the things we tell you to buy. Now you're a good conformist, just like the Chinese do now with their social credit system. And okay, good. We've built the bumpers for you. You're good to go.
What's the first big step? You meet somebody, hypothetical. You meet somebody, they're deep. They're deep into the AI notion. They're deep into this, using it for Jesus. They're deep into, what's the first thing you would recommend to somebody? What's the first step, and then maybe the second step, to find realignment on the notion of where data is coming from and why this is so important for us individually?
Boy, I don't know if there's any litany of reason that would work with some people, and I think that's
fair enough.
And I think that's
try
right. I think that's part of the cocktail that they're giving us.
Right.
They know that some people just subscribe to it, and there's some evidence in the world of psychology that a person, even if presented with the truth, less than 30% would even accept it. Mm-hmm. So if you've got friends or colleagues in church or work or other things, and listen, don't just jump into the pool yet. Stop and take a look around, look at resources, see what's real, try to investigate. I think that's the best start you can get. And if you're in the Christian community, you always default to what's written in the book. It hasn't changed. It's not different. Just because AI says it is, just because the government says you should, it doesn't change anything. So go back and look at that and reevaluate, and then talk to the creator of the universe. What does he have to say? He's not going to make you a superhero. He's not going to have you do all these things, but you'll be knowledgeable and you'll be usable for his kingdom.
Yeah. Yep. I think it circles back in many ways to commandment number 1, to love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, and mind. And that's such a relational statement of importance to direct the fullness of your commitment, the fullness of you, who you are and who you're not. The things that includes the things that disqualify you, in my opinion. If you're going to love God, you have to bring the things that disqualify you also. There's not really a healthy relationship if both people are not willing to sit down and go, I know my disqualifiers. These things truly, I'm not above you. I have disqualifiers. And for people who struggle with that notion, that relationship isn't real. The relationship you're having with people isn't real. The closest relationships in the world happen between any two individuals to say that person knows all of my disqualifiers. And that other person says, and they know all of my disqualifiers. The God knows all of your disqualifiers. And we keep trying to show the world we're Christians by all of our qualifiers instead of going by his mercy. I have only been qualified not in and of myself because I am just full of disqualifiers, but he is the qualifier. And so I'm not above, I'm not better than, I'm not any of that.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage people, even listen to the podcast, that I hope they hear this. And in all this information world, Jesus Christ knows everything. You might as well admit to him your disqualifiers so that you can know him.
You can't hide them.
You can't hide them. And if you keep trying to match Jesus's righteousness with your own, you're not letting Jesus be Jesus. You're not letting him do what he came to do and be who he came to be for you. You're trying to match yourself up with him. Quite frankly, that's what the enemy got cast out of heaven for.
No.
He thought for one moment, no, I can be above God or I can be like him. No, he was created. He was created by God and he couldn't be above him. We were created by God and we can't be above him, which is why he was so kind and knowing all the data about us, the king of all data centers, knowing it, he gave of himself. And how are we treating that? I'm telling you, if we come back to Christ in that way, if we come back with a love and a fervency of his mercy, I believe that drives us to a truth that begins to disqualify, at least to protect ourselves, at least to have some understanding and keep us on the spot where Jesus would have us so we can be effective.
Agreed.
And not necessarily the data center.
No.
We could sit here and go, less time on the phone, less time on Netflix. We could say all that.
I know.
Less time in front of commercials, but that's not what it's about. What time you are spending with who,
right?
And doing what.
Yep. It won't solve everything.
I could still go down some roads on this a little bit. I mean, I could. Do you think, I don't know, when Jesus comes back, these data centers are in play. Is there anything you're nervous about for believers in where we get pulled off in some of the things? Like I've mentioned some things. Do you see believers getting pulled off a way that would cause you a concern where you're going, here would be my concern for believers, the believing church, believing fathers and husbands in regards to following down this informational track?
Well, it's just going to be a matter of what you subscribe to. What'll be reality to when this all plays out, because there will be a time when, in biblical, especially Revelation, you have to make a choice.
Right.
Are you going to interact in that society or hold yourself from it? And it'll be very clear, what will you choose? So that's why it's so important that we know God now, because you'll have to make that choice at some point if we're still here on earth when that time comes. And so, knowing what the choice will be, knowing who the players are, will be a significant role in how you make that decision. And I think that'd be very important.
Right. Glenn, I appreciate the conversation today. This is,
it's been awesome.
I think there's going to be more to come in the future around this conversation. And I want to encourage people again to reach out to us. Go to whitedoveministries.net. Send us an email and say, you know what, would you guys consider coming and sitting down with some of our leadership? We want to see if we can't get these conversations going here, where we're at, here and what we're doing. We would love to come in any way that we could that would help facilitate that. and to help you walk in those kinds of conversations. So I want to remind you, this is important. Put away the gods of your fathers and choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. God bless.